Oh, the pain. On a day where I was having a lovely time seeing Arsenal lose in the final seconds of stoppage time to Aston Villa away at Villa Park in what it could be a very exciting title race, cometh the hour, cometh the opportunity for Chelsea to make a difference, to claw back some points. Not that we're in a title race, but just to ensure that the distance between Chelsea and the top isn't that bad, yeah? To 6 points. 6 points at the beginning of December from top, I would very much take and be happy with, all things considered. And when I saw the lineup, I thought, right, this is a big boy lineup. This is serious stuff, yeah? This isn't that rotation that we saw away at Leeds and we got sort of bullied and it sort of was one of those games where you think, yeah, okay, we're not ready yet. All the rotated side's not ready yet. You know, we saw a lot of changes here and I thought, right, here we ruddy go, mate, yeah? And for the first time since I believe the opening day of the season against Crystal Palace, Chelsea draw a blank. We keep a clean sheet. And that's a lot to, there was actually some good defending in this game, which we can talk about, which I'm pleased about. But an attack that consisted of Alejandro Garnacho, Liam Delap, Pedro Neto, and returning Cole Palmer for his first start in like months now. We couldn't squeeze out a goal. We couldn't get one past Georgi Petrovic. Much better in the second half, but not the first. We're going to speak about it today, guys. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Football Therapy. How you doing, friends? It's bad, but it could be worse. It's 8 points off top at the beginning of December isn't the end of the world, but I think, of course, context is key, and we will all feel very disappointed in terms of the last two results. There were tough away fixtures, and I know Bournemouth have been in a funk, but they had some players returning from injury, it had a good atmosphere and the vitality. This is not an excuse. Chelsea should absolutely be beating Bournemouth on any day, in any situation, but here we go. Anyway, welcome back, guys. I'm really pleased to have you with me here to talk about, this game and moving forwards and where Chelsea at generally. Of course, if you're watching on YouTube, hello, you can see me. Thank you for liking and subscribing. Why not support me? And of course, this content is now available on all good podcast platforms. Most notably Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So you can listen to me on that, and if you do, please do follow the podcast, and why not give me a 5-star rating? That will help me out a lot. Yeah, man, so we're going to talk about the game. Like I said, I really did enjoy the fact that we had a prime Barclays ding-dong in the early kickoff, which of course was Unai Emery, forever haunting his former employees in Arsenal, giving them a real game, and that was a proper good game, I think. Of course, Arsenal missing some players. This is not an Arsenal review, but I'm just referencing the game for context. Villa were, a little bit ahead of us as well. They've pushed up into second temporarily, but then been pushed back down to third, of course, because of Man City actually showing that they're real title contenders, beating a good Sunderland team 3-0 the last time I checked. At time of recording, I believe that's full time now, 3-0. And, yeah, dude, so we are, I believe, fourth. Let's have a quick ganders. We are still fourth. Everton are fifth, a point behind us. And I think Palace, they're yet to play Crystal Palace. So if they win, they can go into fourth place, which is tough. But there's your context. Man. So let's talk about it. For YouTube, we're going to take a look at the lineups now. As you can see, it's a lot stronger from Chelsea. It's a 4-2-3-1 listed on both sides. Good players. Senesi coming back in. He did eventually have to come off. Obviously, he had an incredible battle with Liam Delap before. I think Delap either broke his collarbone or dislocated his shoulder. Again, I'm not sure at time of recording. But Georgi Petrovic was good in goal. We know he is very capable of that. Senesi in the back line was great. And Treffer at left back. Scott is in the midfield. They're a little bit decimated in midfield, and that's kind of where I felt like we missed an opportunity. Maybe hindsight being 2020, you should have started Andre Santos. Tried to dominate the middle of the park more. But we didn't do that. We had Rob Sanchez in goal. Had a very good game, and we needed him to, especially in that first half. Gusto coming in back in for right back. Cucurella at left back, which means Reece James can partner Enzo Fernandez. So captain and vice captain in the midfield. And boy, did we need that in the absence of Caicedo. Trev Chalobah continuing his good partnership with Wesley Fofana in centre-back. Trev, of course, going from a bad display at right-back last game away at Leeds and returning to where he's been playing well at the left centre-back role. Wesley Fofana, very, very good performance like Rob Sanchez. He's been given player of the match on SofaScore. My boy Wes, as you guys know, is my favourite defender at the club and has been pretty much since we signed him, despite him being out injured forever. It's the attacking four. So Garnacho on the left, he's still Chelsea's starting left winger, and we can speak about that. Pedro Neto has been Chelsea's form attacker this season, and then Palmer in behind Liam Delap. I very much wanted to see this. Joao Pedro, I think, has been really, really poor for Chelsea for weeks. Not only has he not scored or assisted, he's been very, very poor off the ball, which is, you've got to be good off the ball. I wouldn't mind so much if Joao Pedro was really affecting games without scoring or assisting, but you could tell he was really affecting games. That was not happening. So yeah, for me, it was the correct decision to play Liam Delap, and indeed it was the correct decision to bring on a Marc Guiu, the 19-year-old Spanish striker, to just play as a sort of wrecking ball in the absence of Liam Delap. Like I said earlier, he had a real battle with Senesi. They kept sort of being at each other, the Argentine defender and the English centre-forward. And then obviously they got wrapped up in the box. He landed on his shoulder or his collarbone and had to come off Liam in the first half, in the 32nd minute. But yeah, the first half was all Bournemouth. Let's talk about it, of course. They had a goal cancelled for offside in the 6th minute. Antoine Semenyo, who of course is their best player, always a threat. I think it was Clivert was offside. Reece James, nearly playing him onside, Reece, but he was in his sort of he was in a left-back position, Reece, so maybe that's why he was a bit in no man's land. More of a right-sided defender, of course. So Semenyo had that, and then 6th minute, and I was thinking, ruddy heck, we got away with one here, we've got away with one, and in the whole of that first half, I'm going to tell you the first half statistics. Despite having 65% of the ball in that first half, and of course they had a goal ruled for offside, so that's not, XG does not take into account that Semenyo goal that was cancelled, which of course was a demonstration of them playing well as well. But on top of that, they had 1.2 XG, which is very healthy. They had 10 shots to our 3, and we had 0.22 XG, and Rob Sanchez made 4 saves in the first half alone. Ugh! Second half, Chelsea were a lot better. We had nearly 4 times the amount of XG they had. We had, again, the majority of the ball, but no real clear-cut, gilt-edged chances. You had moments from Garnacho sort of hitting the post with a header, sort of playing the ball across the face of goal, Guiu turning and taking snapshots, Pedro Neto having moments, getting frustrated and taking snapshots. We had 8 shots in the second half alone to their 3, so nearly 3 times the amount of theirs, and they had 4 keeping in the second half, just like we had 4 saves from Rob Sanchez in the second half, in the first half for Chelsea. The second half for Bournemouth, Georgi Petrovic made 4 saves as well. So it was a game of 2 halves. It was probably, a draw was fair ultimately, but that is ultimately not good enough for Chelsea. Good performances, I suppose. Let's talk about that then. Sanchez in goal continues to play well. He's got another clean sheet. I think he's level for the Golden Gloves. Is that the award? Yeah. The most clean sheets. I think he's level with Raya now. Still, he's playing well ultimately. I mean, I'm looking at the SofaScore ratings. They've given obviously Wes player of the match. Second highest would be Chelsea's Robert Sanchez, and then you've got your Georgi Petrovic's, your Trevo Chalobah's, and Senesi's and stuff like that. After that, Fernandes and Reece James in midfield. I think they were kind of fine. I think probably one of the headline talking points is Delap looking good, although I'm really frustrated with Liam that, of course, he's not. You don't want your centre forward to get bullied, and you want him to bully other people, and that's what Delap will do. But on top of that, he's so easily wound up. He gets dragged into these grudge matches, and of course, you got that really ridiculous red card earlier in the season off the bench, 2 yellows in quick succession, which was absolutely mental. I think he got them in 7 minutes, the 2 yellows. Off the bench, that is some feat. He's only 23 to that, but that's not young. That's not like a teenager. It's not like 18-year-old Estevao. It's not like 19-year-old Mark Yu. You've got 4 years on Mark Yu. Do you know what I mean? You should know better. And you've had a season as a starting striker in the Premier League where you've scored a bunch of goals, you know? So, I get it. He's probably still desperate to prove himself because he's wearing the number 9 of Chelsea on his back. But I can understand why Maresca's starting him and will continue to start him as a striker, of course, when available. This injury might keep him out for a little bit now. But Cole Palmer, how do you like rate that Palmer performance? Because it's his first start in weeks and weeks / months, and he had moments you could tell he wanted to influence the game in the way Cole Palmer would, like a number 10, looking for certain passes, occupying certain places, being a little bit more risky, being a little bit more cultured. That's what he wants to do. But maybe it would have served him to be a little bit more just boring and functional, maybe. He looked rusty. I don't think he was awful. I don't think he was particularly great. I sort of get it. He got his 60 minutes, didn't he? And then Joao Pedro comes on. So we should really talk about the subs. There's only 3 substitutions. Interesting that, Maresca didn't go crazy with it. I just suppose looking at the bench, the glaring player that didn't come on for me is Andre Santos, the midfielder. I think we needed to dominate the middle of the park better. That would have been I get it, Garnacho played pretty well. Yeah, I get that. So he gets a lot of the game. And Neto's been our best attacker. So you give Neto the chance to move over to the left when you bring on an Estevao. I get it. It kind of makes sense. I sort of understand that. And obviously with Neto playing so well and scoring goals recently, he scored 4 goals in 5 games and gets assists and stuff. Obviously, in a game state like that, it would actually be interesting to see how a informed Pedro Neto, of course, when he plays on the left, it's a very different style of play than a conventional left winger. So the right back at Bournemouth, Smith, he'll be like, right, well, I've been dealing with a conventional left-sided player in Garnacho. If obviously a Gittins comes on, I know he's more of a 1v1 dribbler, he's still dealing with that guy trying to get onto his right foot. But when you move Pedro Neto over, who's feeding himself and playing well, Smith's suddenly oh God, this is a whole different test. And then obviously you bring on an Estevao that you'd hope would do more than he did. So of course, other than that, Q comes on for Delap, which is big. It was big. Everyone's like, oh, he's bringing on Mark Q. He's not bringing on Joao Pedro. I've been very firm on how disappointed I've been with Joao Pedro lately. And not because he's not scoring or assisting. It's his off-the-ball work. But I think the plan always was to give Cole Palmer 60-odd minutes and then bring on Joao Pedro to play in the Cole Palmer role rather than, pushing for... I mean, in hindsight, Joao Pedro played okay off the bench, so I don't want to particularly dig him out for this performance. But, I would have maybe, moved Enzo Fernandez forward and brought on an Andre Santos probably to, really just enforce that midfield dominance. And, we know Fernandez can crash the box late and score goals. It's a different role from him. But then again, Maresca knows how good at passing Fernandez is. Maybe he just wanted to keep him deeper. Try and play in these wingers, Get your head up, Enzo. Look, where's Garnacho? Where's Estevao? Where's Neto? Where's Palmer early doors? But we never really got going. And that first half kind of screwed us. Even though we woke up a little bit in the second half, I do genuinely think that... ultimately, it was so... we got out of that first half alive. It's not the end of the world. I'm pleased we kept a clean sheet, especially in what looked like was becoming a difficult contest. But we're going to need to find a way to get these first-choice players. And when I say first-choice players, I mean Delap, who, of course, probably absent now. I mean Cole Palmer. I mean Garnacho, to combine and score goals. Look at the attacking momentum meter here, for those of you on YouTube. It's predominantly all Chelsea. Lots and lots of Chelsea player pressure with intermittent high-value breaks from Bournemouth in between. So Chelsea pushing up the pitch, most of the ball, playing in Bournemouth's half, pass, and of course a release, transition, a counter-attack from the Cherries. It's so frustrating because all it would have taken was a moment. 1 goal, 3 points, get away from, that away fixture on a Saturday afternoon against a Bournemouth having some players returning, and they fancy themselves against Chelsea, who a bit of a wounded animal, losing against Leeds away. They probably think, yeah, we can do that to them, even with their first choice, you know. But again, when Chelsea starts settling, full of fitness, when Palmer plays more minutes, when I don't know what's going to happen with Delap now. I must say, yeah, at this point, it is a talking point that the whole Nicholas Jackson to Bayern Munich, a lot of you have been saying it in the comments on when I post media, like, I don't necessarily think the Jackson thing was a mistake per se, because I think it was a breakdown in a relationship between Enzo Maresca and the Senegalese striker Nico Jackson, and he was just heart set on going to Bayern Munich, and I don't think he's necessarily, tearing it up over there. But it does make you think, we all like Mark Gue, and he shows what he can do in terms of he's this bit of an old school throwback striker, throws himself around. But when you've got Delap just sort of not just being consistent, in and out of injury, sort of a bit petulant, and then you're bringing in a Gue, and for me, my mind's made up with Joao Pedro as a centre forward. I know he sees himself as a striker, and he had an amazing Club World Cup. It's almost like destiny that we bought Joao Pedro, and he was available for the Club World Cup, because I was delighted with that trophy win, and I think history will be very cut. I mean, obviously, everyone was terribly excited. Chelsea beat the European champions 3-0 in a international final. And by the way, PSG really wanted to win that. You don't have Luis Enrique throttling the aforementioned Joao Pedro and, Gigi Donnarumma and all the players fighting. They were desperate to win that trophy to cap off an amazing season. Chelsea won it. I think that trophy will gain a lot more, respect as time goes on. We know the South Americans love the Club World Cup, but as time goes on, the new iteration, that new format of the Club World Cup, I think will be more and more respected as these big teams take it so seriously. And it will always be Chelsea, Enzo Maresca's Chelsea, that won the inaugural first one. So it's like destiny. You bring in Joao Pedro to score those vital goals, in the semi and play well in the final. And I think he could be a good player for Chelsea, absolutely, but as a centre forward, at these moments, both Delap, I don't want to judge Delap too harshly because he went off early doors, but then Gue, I know what Gue is, Gue might become good. He's 19, bro, do you know what I mean? I'd rather be putting everything into Shimoeka at the moment, but we'll see. I think we'll sell Gue, and I think there'll be a buyback clause. I think we'll make a huge profit on him, 4 or 5, 6 times the money we spent on him, and there'll probably be a buyback clause and a sell-on clause. It does make you think we should have a different striker. Do you know what I mean? It won't be Nico. Nico will be sold. He will be sold for a profit. Where is this striker? And should Chelsea buy a striker in January? I pose the question to you. Are there even any strikers available in January? Because there's moments in this game, whether it was Delap or Gue or other players that are occupying the centre forward position in the box, where they're big boy striker. Someone on my Instagram halftime live spoke about Osimhen. We should have thrown the bag at Osimhen, and I just sort of waved it away. And I still it was unfeasible. He gets paid loads of money. There are some problems with Osimhen, not football related apparently. There were rumblings in terms of why Chelsea were a little bit hesitant. But, those moments in the box when you just have that sort of talismanic forward. We've got talismanic players, right? We've got Cole Palmer, he's talismanic. Pedro Neto's not quite there, but, Stevha will be talismanic. Reece James is talismanic. Do you know what I mean? It would be really nice. I think Wesley Fofana can be. I know you guys give me grief for bigging him up so much, but I think he can be amazing. Levi Carwell, who knows? Rob Sanchez is growing all the time. Just having that one in the box, that one in the box that's just takes responsibility, and it was just born to score goals. You look at Harry Kane, he's scoring more than a goal for a game for Bayern Munich. I've talked about Harry Kane before, Chelsea should have just found a way. What really frustrated me is, I know it was really hard for him to go from Spurs to say even Man City, so Chelsea would have been near impossible. Of course, it was easier for him to go to Bayern. But there was that story when he was building a house next to the Chelsea training ground, and we had Pochettino as the manager, and I thought, ooh, but that guy will just score. We win this game with Harry Kane. I know it sounds silly that I'm talking about Harry Kane and Chelsea after a draw to Bournemouth, but there is an element of that. You can have passengers with these young developmental players, but maybe Rob Sanchez, as a 27, 28-year-old, is finding this sort of serious part of his career where he will just do his job right. Maybe we need one at the other end of the pitch. It's the age-old question. Liam Delap's 23. I think he could be very good, but I don't see Gu as the answer. I don't see Gerard Pedro as the answer. Nico's not coming back, so there is a vacancy for a big boy centre forward there. Just really interesting. Even what if we signed a Sergio Guirassy, who's just scoring loads of goals. He's just used to banging it in the back of the net. He's in the 18-yard box to score goals. Anyway, what do you think, guys? Let me know. Please do comment if you're watching on YouTube. Thank you for liking and subscribing. I think you can comment on podcast platforms, but thank you for following and, rating the podcast/video. If you want to, that's kind. And every day, content every single day, mate. So I hope to see you back here soon. Take care.